You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. Happy October, friends. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Britt Olson, and I am so grateful that you are tuning in with us for today's episode. And I would also like to wish a very happy birthday to today's guest, Jared L. White. It's also my mom's birthday as well. So many fun birthdays. I just love Libras so much. So if you are listening to this episode on October 6th, definitely go wish Jared a happy birthday on his Instagram at whoisTimK, or you can wish him a happy birthday on my most recent post highlighting this episode on at Loving Your Own Soul. Jared, who joins us today, is such an incredible soul. I am so honored to not only bring him on for this interview, but also I'm just honored to be able to share the space with him in the capacity that we did in this conversation, which really just strengthened our relationship together and hopefully can kind of also serve as a catalyst to shine some light on others to help open up their relationships and have the conversations that all of us need to be having nowadays so that we can truly hold compassion and just new levels of appreciation for our brothers, sisters, and human race. Because as humans, we are all truly one, regardless of the labels we've been told to put on one another over time. In our conversation, we candidly catch up about life, the events and experiences of working in corporate America, and Jared's position as not only a Black person, but a gay Black man at that, which has really further developed his voice and stance as an activist to heal generations to follow. His outlook and just how he carries himself is so inspiring, and I cannot wait to follow his journey, as I truly feel these next few years are just going to be so crucial and pivotal for this special soul. I know you all are going to love him as much as I do. He just is such a warm light. He's truly amazing. I was actually so excited to chat with Jared and just immediately engage in our conversation. I did not even notice, but my microphone was actually not picking up my sound. So I do apologize. The audio is a little bit echoey because of that, but hey, living in the moment, right? Things are not always perfect, and it's normally when we let go of perfection that kind of makes things a little bit more fun and exciting. So a couple announcements though before we do jump into today's episode. First and foremost, my Life in Balance 9-week program that is currently open. Enrollment is closing on Friday, October 9th, as the program will begin this next set on Monday, October 12th for the next 9 weeks. We will have a new group starting up with a January start date, so if you do not join us now, you can always join us then. However, I would truly encourage you to consider it if you feel called. My Life in Balance program is really about realigning your mind, body, and soul the holistic way. We look at the actual food that you're eating on your plate, but then also how things off your plate are affecting your health and wellness as it pertains to your relationships, career, finances, limiting beliefs, even some childhood wounds that exist in there, movement, spirituality, just honestly, all the things. It is an all-encompassing program to really kind of just reset, refocus where you stand from a health and wellness standpoint, whether your goals are to simply lose the weight that many of us have gained in COVID, or to actually start getting a handle on your chronic illness and looking at reversing disease, or maybe you just even want to understand plant-based diet and kind of debunking all the fad diets and trying to just properly understand the health and wellness world, because it is a consumer world and all the information that's out there is not always best for you. So I would love to have you all join me. Just please do not forget that enrollment does close this Friday, October 9th. We do have payment plans available, and all kinds of things. So you can learn more at AMBU, that is AMBU wellness.com. And again, that is ambuwellness.com. Would love to have you. For our October Modern Wellness Community Morning, for those who are new here, a Modern Wellness Community Morning is a free event that always takes place the last Friday of the month, virtually over Zoom, always at 8 a.m. EST. We do send out the recording for anyone who's unable to make it. And each morning it's a free event, free meetup for like-minded beings to kind of get together and start the day on a positive note and also close out the month leading into the new month on a positive note. This month, on Friday, October 30th, we will be joined by Lindsay Schroeder, who is an intuitive business, spiritual wellness, and mindset coach. And Lindsay will be really taking us through how to dive deep into our intuitions, better understand our psychic abilities that each of us have, and then also walk us through utilizing the 5 clair senses, but in particular, we'll be focusing on clairvoyant and clairaudient. So we'll be doing a full moon ritual as we have our second full moon of the month that Saturday. Lindsay will be walking us through a full moon meditation and really helping us understand how we can rein in the moon's power into our own abilities and really just manifest the life of our wildest dreams. I'm so excited to have Lindsay joining us. You can find her at Our and R on Instagram, which I will also link it in the show notes. And I hope that you will join us. It's going to be so much fun. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I host free and virtual movement sessions. They are, again, virtual on Zoom, Tuesdays at 7 a.m. Eastern and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For the next 2 weeks, our Thursday night workouts, I've partnered with Carrie McGinn of Live Good, Feel Good. Carrie was also a past guest on the podcast, I believe, episode 20, but I may not have the number correct. It's somewhere in there. And Carrie's a yoga teacher, physical therapist, personal trainer, and her workouts are so much fun. They're a little bit similar to Melissa Wood Health in that it's kind of a yoga flow style paired in with some different strength movements and just things to kind of change it up. It's definitely not your typical yoga flow. We always do some journaling exercises in there and really just create a new way to be truly mindful about our movements. So I hope that you will join us. Again, linked in the show notes to sign up. And these are always free, always fun. All ages and ability levels are welcome. So I hope to see you there. And last but not least, if you enjoy your time on the podcast today, definitely feel free to leave a rating and review. That is truly the best way to help podcasts grow. Do not only leave one for mine if you feel called, but anytime you're listening to a podcast, try to please leave them a rating and review. It really does help spread these messages and these inspirational stories for all to hear. If you elect to leave a rating and review on mine after today's episode, I would be so honored, and in exchange, I will send you a free gift. So all you have to do is simply screenshot your rating and review for proof and email it to me at lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. And in exchange, I will send you my free gift. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Jared, Brother Bear.
Hello, Sister Bear.
So excited to have you on the podcast. I mean, gosh, we're kind of like picking up where we left off. You could say that we left off like 5 years ago in New
Definitely.
York. We did see each other in Chicago.
Yes, it was Chicago.
2-3 years ago?
Yes. I forgot all about Chicago. That trip was yes. Because I was out there on vacation and we were at Alicia's. It was Alicia's party, or was your party? It was your party.
It was for
my party.
My husband.
Yes. Oh my. Yes. Yes. You know what? That was such a cool night. It was just it was random because I was just in Chicago, just on my random vacation, solo vacation. Yeah. And it just always pieced together. That was so cool. You know what I was thinking about the last time I saw you? Because I saw a picture of us when we went to have tacos. I think you brought your brother. And we had tacos outside, and I just found that picture of us posted up on somebody else's car in the Lower East Side.
That was so fun. And that one was 4 years ago, 5. I think that was the summer I moved.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, that was so cool.
So crazy. So for those who do not know our relationship, our destined relationship, you could kind of say it however, we met through work. really we met pre-work when I was an intern. You had just started at Meredith. Then I ended up moving to New York. We worked together at Meredith in the marketing and events department. Traveled together. We've had some crazy nights together. I like how we were united by work, but our relationship was always so much stronger than just that like work friendship.
Yes, I think we connected with each other on different levels, and I think the one thing that I love about certain people that I've worked with is that that work is just work. We can still make it fun. We don't have to stress out about it, and and also we shared that peanut allergy experience. So that and that was the first time I met you, I think. So we from there, for me, I was like, well, she's been my angel, so why not?
And I think we've always had that like brotherly, sisterly bond.
Yes.
I kind of use that phrase chosen family. And I truly believe that with you, especially because we haven't really caught up in a bit. It's definitely been a minute for sure. But immediately you just have that bond that like it's not going to go anywhere, which is
right. And then we just have to have that because just the little, not have to, but it's just that chosen road to each other because of all the different scenarios that we would find ourselves into, and you were always down to have a good time. I was always down to have a good time. So
got ourselves in a little bit of trouble, but we got out of it.
Not that much trouble.
No. Always with a good intention first.
Yes, just a little bit mischief.
Yes, exactly. So when this episode comes out, it will actually be the day of your birthday. So happy birthday, October 6th, which is also my mom's birthday.
I don't think I knew that.
No, maybe not. Yeah.
No.
It's October 6th as well.
Wow. So happy birthday to your mom too.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh wow, this is going to be a good birthday because it's my 33rd. So everyone's like, this is your Jesus year. This is your year where you really become an adult. Even though I feel like I've been an adult or have known adult qualities for a very long time, but I've been reading like this is when you shed a lot of those past childlike behavior, but hopefully still remaining and maintaining essentially the essentials of Jared. But I'm super excited. A birthday in quarantine, so let's see how that's gonna go.
Seriously, I didn't know that about 33. That's so cool. I always love the double numbers, just kind of angel numbers and stuff. Which today is the 22nd when we're recording, which is so kind of a double there. And like 22 is one of those more powerful numbers. Kind of talks about like turning dreams and desires into reality. It's kind of very high vibrational.
That's good.
So
I love this. And if we want to go deeper, we just had that moon in Aquarius, I believe. And then it was something about 11/11. So, and then I had a dream about 11/11. We're doing this on 2022. And then 3/3 for my birthday. Wow. If this is not setting up for something.
Yes. So aligned. I love it. Absolutely love it. What was your dream about 11/11?
So I watched this, I am into like horoscopes and astrology, and I watched this guy who was doing a workshop. I forgot his name, but he was doing a workshop on the full moon. And he mentioned 11/11 just looking out for it. And I had a dream that night that I looked at the clock and it was 11/11 on the dot. I was sitting by my window doing work. In the dream, I thought it was in the morning, but it had to be at night because it was so dark. And I looked at the clock and it was 11/11. I woke up. I was like, wow, at least I saw the number. It may not have been, I usually miss 11/11 on the clock, but I'm glad I saw it in my dream because it made it a little bit more.
I love that. So speaking of angel numbers and spirituality, and just kind of before we started recording, we were talking about getting older and maturity and just really how dope the 30s are, moving past that Saturn return and how crazy. I mean, the 20s in general are crazy. It's such a time of exploration, let alone
time of your life.
Yeah. I mean, there will be no other decade like the 20s for sure. Or another decade like 2020 for that matter. Talking about numbers. One of the things I think is kind of cool with our relationship, what I remember right before I was leaving New York, we were both kind of individually slowly dipping our toes into the spiritual world a little bit. Like we had Barry, I can't remember her last name.
Barry Connell.
Yes, Barry Connell.
Yes. So funny. I just spoke to her.
Did you? Oh
Yes,
my
keep
gosh, so
going.
fun. So I don't remember the conversation specifically, but like she had given me one of her tarot decks. Oh my gosh, did she give you that?
Yes.
I love it. So
Yeah.
for those who can't see us, Jared just held up an oracle card deck. Which card deck was that?
This is the goddess guidance oracle cards
I love it.
by Doreen Virtue, PhD. Sorry, I don't know if we need to be plugging things.
Oh, we'll link that in the show notes for sure. Thank you. Have you continued working with Barry? I know individually we were each kind of having our own conversations with her. I think you might
Right.
have done a Reiki session with her, maybe, or you were thinking.
I did, so I wasn't, so were you taking, so how were you approaching it with Barry? Because it was kind of just going over my head. Like I was just having a rough day and would just go in her office to complain. And she was like, do you want to pull a card, Jared? And I'm like, sure, let's go pull a card. So it wasn't like a set up, organized session with Barry, but I would go in there at moments of feeling pressure. And it was just moments of wanting just some hope, and just not knowing what my path was at that time. And she always provided that for me with these moments. And like I said, I've always, even growing up, even as a child, I've always thought as positive as possible, and I've always known that there was this is energy, like we're just human beings, that not human beings, we're non-physical beings having a human experience, and I've always felt that way, or in recent years. So going to Barry was always an option, just to get that guidance and just find some hope at 26, when you're like, I just need some hope, like you don't even know what's going on around you, but I
Help
just
me. Yeah, could like
yeah.
read into us maybe and knew that we were a little bit open, because as you started saying that, I was like, I don't even know how my conversations opened up with her, but I did just remember, I think she introduced us to the same psychic that we.
Yes, Dominique.
Yes, Dominique. Oh my gosh, you have such good memory.
I will never forget that.
It just clicked. I was like, we had that. But yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know how that door opened. I had just learned about law of attraction at the time and was like kind of on my own, dipping
Yeah.
my toes. I was always like super into this world. Again, just kind of innately called to it, didn't really understand
Yes.
it. So she must have picked up on that, would
She
be,
had to.
because it wasn't like everyone in the office weren't having these same conversations.
No, and I, like I said, I was going, and also I was working so closely with Nancy, so Nancy would give me little thing tasks to do, so I would have to go speak to Barry, and she would just, like you said, I think she would sense the heaviness sometimes, and then she would pull out the cards. And at that particular point, I didn't know about law of attraction. I just always knew to think positive as possible. Like that's what my mother always taught me, and I get that from her. Anytime I had my doubts about going to school, or dealing with a bully, or dealing with a hard test, she would always tell me to think positive. That was her main thing. And I think when you have that, it opens you up to other people. Even when you're feeling your most negative at times, people can still sense you're yearning for positivity, and yearning to keep it. I think it's the one thing to say that you want to be a positive person. It's another thing to keep that positivity, because there's so many things that can lead you down a negative path. So I think Barry was one of those people that like, oh, there's something to those two over there.
Yeah, she knew. Where is she now? I think she moved to Florida, right?
No,
Or,
I think she moved back. No, she actually moved back, because I had a Zoom call with her. I want to say about over a month ago now, and she is freelancing, and she looks great. She's doing great. She's always doing such cool things. And like, I am so thankful, because I actually used these cards last week. I was sitting on I found the cards up in the box. I have a little storage area here, and I always know that they're there. It's so weird how you know that something's there. And I, wanted to do it. And now that I have been meditating more, I know more about the law of attraction. I know more about how the universe works, or yeah, like I said, I know more about it. I said, let me try these cards out again. And it gave me such a great reading.
isn't it amazing?
It's so great.
It's so
I
great.
So cool. And she actually gave me two of these cards, and I gave one to my best friend Chantel.
Oh,
So she uses them as well.
so fun. I
Like
love it.
passing it along. Got to pass it along.
Absolutely. It's so important. I love how you said earlier about how we are not actually human beings. We're
Mm-hmm.
other beings just having human experiences, because
Mm-hmm.
I resonate with that so much. And the first time I ever heard that, we're a soul having a human body experience,
Mm-hmm.
my world, it was like all the pressures and perfectionism and everything I always held so tightly onto just
Mm-hmm.
disappeared. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my God, it's so true. And I
Yes.
always believed in reincarnation and that we are souls and everything, but it was something about the simplicity of that phrase that it was
Right.
like, boom, just
Right.
light bulbs went off.
Right. And it strips away that, like, just like you hit the nail right on the head, and it strips away that the strive for perfectionism, and just allowing yourself to just be and just go through it. And that, for me, it just opened up the signs. I feel like we've always have always been given cues as to what to do next.
Mhm.
So you're never really lost on your journey. You're never really, because you know what to do. If you really just take a step back and see that you're being guided along the way and pick those pieces up. Even in a simple conversation, someone can say something to you, and I like to call them gems. It is, me and you are having a dialogue right. You and I are having a dialogue right now, and you might say something like, I never really thought about it that way. I'll
Mhm.
pick that gym up and keep it pushing. That's how I've gotten to so many different areas in my career. That's how I've gotten to where I'm at in my creative career. It's just by focusing in on those gyms, and also listening to Barry a long time ago. She would drop these gems. Jared, you're going to be a tastemaker. That she would always say that to me, and she would always reinforce that. And then I would take that gem and say, okay, well, how do I then use that clue, because I like that, especially if it's a gem that you like. Because sometimes people can drop bad gems too. I don't know if there's a bad gem, but sometimes people can drop a dirty gem too. And
Yeah.
you can't allow that to be a part of your being.
You have to have those strong boundaries as well, and like understand innately like what pings the heart, and when the heart is like, ooh, I like that,
Mm-hmm.
versus when the mind is like, ooh, I kind of like that, or that might be
Mm-hmm.
something you may not want to go down. But somebody said to me too recently that we're always ending up at the same destination that we're destined for. Just sometimes we might pick a road that feels harder versus another road might feel a little bit easier to get there. But no matter what, we are going where our soul is supposed to be. It's like that soul contract on
Yeah.
this journey. Just
Yeah.
some might feel a little bit better than others. So
I feel like my soul is always like, let's go the challenging way. I feel like we should go over here where it's a little bit more.
yes, I love to just about you in general. And you kind of mentioned this earlier with your positive outlook that your mom kind of ingrained in you and everything like that. But you are
Mhm.
just such a positive person. Like you can just feel your happiness, your light, like everything about you is just like so positive. And
Thank you.
I love that about you. And I think
Thank
that's
you.
what attracts people to you too. But with those challenges that have gone on in life and kind of transitioning into your 30s, or even
Hmm.
just, I mean, shoot, right now in 2020, like this
Right.
is
Right.
gotten ourselves prepared for. What have you been doing anything recently to like keep that positive light, or maybe even if you drift away from your positivity, how you
Mhm.
kind of like rein back to that?
I drift away often from my positivity. I love the fact that people get that from me, but if you guys would see behind the scenes and how some moments I can be really negative and say negative things, and having the notion to understand that at some particular point you need a little extra help, and going to therapy now and realizing how much I play with the critical side of myself and don't play with the passionate side of myself. So it's great when people are seeing this positivity, because that's what I want people to get from me at times. I want people to understand that there's a positive side of that. But I deal with my own negativity a lot. And for me, it has been meditation has been a huge part of my practice. And that started 2 years ago, because I did feel a sense of burnout right when I had turned 30, from the shift from 2017 into 2018. I felt myself being depleted of a lot of that positive energy. I felt the burnout. I felt there's a word that I'm missing, and it'll come back to me, and I'll say, ooh, that's the word that I wanted to say. And it wasn't a healthy, it was healthy because, like I said, every back step that you take, it'll propel you further. But I never felt this type of drainage before. And it really definitely affected my friendships. It affected the work. Even my most challenging moments as an assistant, it didn't feel this, or challenging moments at work, period. It never felt this draining.
So I
And that's,
want to stop you for a
sorry.
second because I went through the exact same thing in
Oh,
27 into 2018.
okay. So it wasn't just me.
Yeah, no, and I've heard other people talk about that year before as well, but I became the most disconnected from myself I've ever been.
Okay.
And it, again, learn from it. Again, that pendulum swing, like it's
Yes.
part of my journey.
Wow.
But it's just interesting to hear you say that because
That's so dope. It's not dope, but it's good to once like we were talking earlier. It's good to know that other people are going through those experiences, and that's when I discovered meditation and really taking it seriously. And that's when I also discovered the law of attraction and how those things work as well. And just meditating for me is just how I release the valve I like to say, and just release some of that tension. It's still a work in progress, but it has been so helpful just to raise my vibration a little bit more.
yeah, totally. I feel that. So when you and I worked together at Meredith, we were in, I mean, Meredith was like pretty much all female. I don't
Yes.
know the full ratio.
I don't think I saw one male there. I don't. That's besides me.
Yeah. What was that? We never talked about it, but what was that like for you? Because I
Well,
found it to be really overwhelming, just who I am on an individual level.
well, working in corporate America as a Black person, let's just take a step back. That in itself, I had to get used to that first, and then when it comes to working in a situation where it's all females. To be honest, I grew up around a bunch of females. I grew up around females growing up. Women have always been a strong support system for me. Women have always championed me, and women have always sought to see me in my best light. So I found it as a place of empowerment also. And I always wanted, and I had some strong female directors and boss and managers. So I've always seen women in this light of power. And so I think that was so cool for me to see that dynamic and then working for Nancy and just seeing her as a boss. But there were moments of like really just, this is just weird, but okay, we'll just keep it pushing. And I just dealt with it. I just focused on the work, and it helped because it was great that I was working in an environment where everybody was so supportive. I don't think we really worked with people who were assholes. I don't think we really worked with people who were rude. People always respected me. They respected my work. They always, I made sure I had a good rapport with everyone. And everyone made sure that they had a good rapport with me because they knew I would report back to Nancy. So it was very definitely a place of, I'm trying to figure out the right word for that. It definitely was a place of just a strong support, but it definitely were moments of overwhelming. But I just had to work through it because I had a job and I had to do the work.
Absolutely. You mentioned being a Black man in corporate America. That's
Hmm.
a big feat for sure.
Yeah.
Did you feel, were there moments of struggle? Like, did you have particular situations that came up at Meredith? Or, I mean, just even we as the events team, we have spent a lot of time in Charleston, which
Yeah.
Charleston is a white, Southern, old
Hmm.
school town. I mean,
Yeah.
there's stuff that goes on where I grew up in North
Right.
Carolina that just never sat well, let alone, I mean, Charleston.
Hmm.
Charleston's an amazing city. I love it. I have a lot
But
of friends there, but there is an era of that city that is very just backwards in time.
right. And there's some racist ideals that are still going on down there that,
For sure.
um, it's one of those towns. And I think for me, and I've always just been myself.
Mhm.
And I think that's the only thing to how to answer that question, because back then I was just so focused on my work. I just wanted to do a good job. So I didn't really, and I think to maybe I should have been looking up more and trying understanding what's going on. There were moments where I feel like I should be doing more, or I can be doing more, and why is this person getting these advances and why I am not.
Mhm.
And those were moments where I was, well, maybe it's the male thing, and then I was like, okay, well, it definitely is the Black thing.
Mhm.
Especially when we had that account management program. I don't know if you remember that, where they brought in
Yes,
uh,
vaguely.
they had an account management program at one time, and they were girls fresh out of college. And at that particular point, I had been working at Meredith for 2 and 3 years, and they were
Yes,
getting
I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
these positions, and of course they had to apply for it. But I'm sitting there, I was like, well, why the fuck am I not getting up for this? And of course I had to apply for it and go through those paces. But that's where a lot of my insecurities came up, because like, am I good enough to apply for this? Am I good enough to pitch a presentation? At that particular point, I just wasn't. All I knew was a calendar. All I knew was events. So I wasn't confident in myself enough to go up for a lot of those roles. But there was something in the back of my mind where I always thought, well, people are seeing me do a good job, then just give it to me.
For sure.
But then, yeah.
You did apply for that you didn't get.
Yes, there were a couple of things that I went out for. And that I tried, and the response was always to me was that I wasn't too sure about what I wanted to do. I always teetered between, I want to do sales, I want to do marketing, I want to do events. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And at that particular point, a lot of those things didn't resonate with me. And at the end of the day, a lot of that had to do, it was a mixture of things. It had to do with the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I feel as though, and I hope not, and I'm sure it had a lot to do, could have done with the color of my skin. But when it comes to Meredith, in that it just wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. It was Sabrina. I don't know if you remember Sabrina.
Yes.
But she was definitely, it was great to see a Black woman in that position. But it just wasn't a lot of us.
Yeah.
No, it just wasn't. And that's, like I said, I just always was myself. And being in those environments in corporate America, I was always myself. And I always focused on the work, because the one thing that you're not going to say is that I didn't do a good job.
You didn't try to put your best foot forward. And
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. It was interesting too, your then transition out of Meredith, how that kind of happened as well, which I think that was like, again, that reasoning why the others didn't work out, because you were to pivot to this next great thing that and grew a lot from that. I know you said you had to then you changed another job, then you dealt with a layoff, which that must have been pretty scary.
It was. So after Meredith, I went to Conde, and I worked there for a year and a half, and I just worked once again, I was always very, I didn't even say this before, but being scrappy and understanding how to move and putting my best foot forward, and just finding my way into Conde, which was another similar experience to Meredith. I worked on the brides team, so it was a lot of females. And once again, a similar experience. I had a really great digital director who always pushed me and taught me and brought me under her wing and taught me this new medium, because at that point I was just starting out in digital. So to go from just being an assistant to then assistant and coordinator. I don't like to say just an assistant. We did a lot of work.
You were
events coordinator as well, assistant event coordinator. No,
you did so much. Again, why I don't like labels, because if you were to look at that, you were so much more than that.
Right. So using that skill set and applying it to Conde was very important, and working under another strong role model, Andrea Matten, and taking me under her wing and teaching me how digital works, and then taking that, and she told us something to me that was very important. She said, as a sales planner, you'll always have a job. So to go back to your layoff thing, I wasn't worried, because I knew I was always going to get me a job, because I had the resume. You cannot not say I didn't have the resume. And when I had that layoff, I took it as a time to relax a little bit, because I had just went through that. I wish I knew the word, that burnout. So it was good to just have a moment to relax and settle down. And like I said, 2018 brought a lot of different things. I lost my granddad that year. So there were so many different shifts that had happened, that I'm so fortunate for that layoff. It once again taught me how scrappy I was. And how resilient that I can be, and the skill set that I have learned. Everything happens for a reason. So sitting at a desk, when we talk about Meredith and we talk about, well, I was just an assistant for all these many years and I should have done that. Being Nancy's assistant for those 3 years taught me so much valuable lessons in business that I see that kids now don't have at all, because they're coming in and just pushing around. I can say that at least I know I can put an email together. I know how to talk to people in meetings. I know what it's like to be in a room with C-level, so I saw the behind the scenes that directors didn't see. So to be a Black boy in Meredith, Black man, I still like to consider myself a boy. I'm still young. To be a Black man and to see behind the curtain and to see business the way it's run, I'm appreciative of that, because like I said, there are directors, there are marketing people, who would never see that. So now when I conduct my business now as a grown 33-year-old man, and when I'm having my conversations with my business partner, I know how to do this. I know how to put together amazing as presentation or whatever because of that experience. So, I don't ever want to take away from that.
Yeah, which is so invaluable too. I mean, just
Hmm.
getting that like spotlight on so many different things that almost unconsciously at the time you maybe weren't
Hmm.
aware of, but now looking back, you're like, oh man, I got
Had no idea. Had no idea. So all of that skill set just really prepared me for 2018. So when it came to being out of work, I was prepared for that. Financially, I was prepared for it. Once again, there was things at Meredith that I did. I had stocks. I was investing in Meredith, had no idea or forgot about it. I was able to cash those in. I had a good a package from the company at the time. Unfortunately, I had to cash in my 401k, but you got to do what you got to do. So I was prepared. It came a day where I knew I had to get my ass back to work. And when I made that realization and I had Andrea's head, my voice in my head saying you can always find a job as a sales planner. It's not what I wanted to do, but it's what I had to do. And Oprah, I just saw a quote from Oprah the other day where she said, sometimes you can't do the things that you want to do. You just got to do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. And I just had to, pull my big boy pants up and get back to work and do what I knew how to do and improve on it for the next chapter.
I love that so much. With having already experienced one layoff, going through all that, when COVID came around, and I know you also mentioned your own business, so I do want to talk about that and go into detail on that because I love what you're doing. But before that, when COVID came and suddenly everybody's getting laid off left and right, I mean, it's like the whole world just literally flipped upside down overnight. Did any of those maybe past fears or limiting beliefs or any like old stories kind of try to creep back up, or did you feel that you were at just a really strong foundation?
I felt like I was at a really strong foundation because I just focused on the work again. I think my main ideal is going back to the work. Let's just focus on the work. I knew there were conversations, and also knowing how business works. The pandemic happened in March. We just ended our fiscal year, so I know that we have money from last year. So we're not talking about being laid off just yet.
Yep.
So if we are going to be talking about laid off, we're going to be that's when they start planning for the next year. So I knew I had a couple of months to really figure it out before anything happened. I also knew that, once again, from what Andrea taught me, that I'm a position. So you're going to lay off the sales planner? who's going to plan
Yep.
your media plans? Like, why would you lay me off? That would be silly. So I was just very secure in it, and if it happened, then we will figure it out. And I think that goes back to just being a Black person in general. That's just how we are. You got to be scrappy. You can't let things stop you. I can't let being laid off stop me from chasing my dreams. And being a Black person, being a millennial, I think us millennials have been we've had to figure out a lot of things, and how to maneuver. Especially, when I graduated college, there were no jobs. I know what it's like to have a job and having to do things that you don't want to do and doing those things until you can do what you want to do. So we had our conversation with our team and they mentioned that there could be things down the line, but I just focused on the work and focused on what I had to get done.
Cool. I think millennials get such a bad rap as well.
We
It's
do.
this like weird misconstrued notion, but honestly, I mean, the generations beneath, under us, below us, coming up from underneath of us, they're the ones I'm a little bit more worried about. But like, honestly, with us, and we are more curious, we are the explorers, but we're also doing the work ourselves and are willing to say, this situation doesn't work for me, so I'm not going to be stuck here.
Yeah.
And I think from different generations that comes off negatively,
Right.
but really it's just that inner look at ourselves, which is uncomfortable for others when they see that and they haven't done the work themselves. It immediately that like brick wall comes up of like, well, I don't understand that. Like if anything, it's a little bit triggering, but we are scrappy as a whole. Like we've been through, what was it, 2008, 2012?
Yes.
Yeah, 2008, all of that. Now we're going through all of this and at also very like prime times in our life too. Like we're at
early 30s is a prime time.
For sure. Like such a time of just so many things. But to also now add this on top of it to see where we'll be 10, 15, 20 years from now, I think would be just very, very interesting. And like what we've done inside of quarantine and just inside of this year and kind of accepting the moments of growth and not wanting to look away from them, even though it's hard. when things get uncomfortable, all you want to do, human instinct is just like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
don't touch me. But if you can lean into that, open yourself up, you just, I mean, grow
That's
so much.
still such a hard, that right there is a hard, I'm still working my way through that
Hmm.
to
Same.
just to open up in those ways and lean in, and I have had those moments of leaning into the feelings of negativity or vulnerability, but it's still a very hard task. I think maybe it is all the scrappiness, maybe it is just focusing on the work, maybe that's when those ideals do start to not help out so much, but it's such a so tough battle,
Hmm.
um, that I'm trying. And that's just one of the things that you start to process as you said earlier about growing up. That's just one of my challenges. How do you lean more into vulnerability and just open up a little bit more? There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. And talk about it too.
Like we're doing now.
For sure. Speaking of that, so I think it's not a coincidence that we had COVID, quarantine, and then the issues of police brutality and racial injustice were suddenly brought to light. They've been going
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
forever. Like
Yes.
hasn't
Yes.
been, it's not a new topic, but my
Hmm.
feeling on it is that we're at this pivotal time of change and it's time to really make radical change. And if
Yes.
we weren't in quarantine, if we were in our normal daily lives,
Hmm.
there would have been so many distractions that the
Yes.
whole world wouldn't have suddenly
Yes.
looked and started
Yes.
hearing and feeling about what was happening.
Yes.
What's kind of your opinion? I mean, how have things been for you? How has it been in Brooklyn? Like,
So once again, this is just a part of my life. This is a part of being a black man, a black woman, a black person, black trans person in America. This is a part of your being. You witness black people being murdered in the streets, or you hear about it, and you have to. It's like it's a traumatic experience. I feel as though when one black person is killed, murdered, we all feel it. It's a feeling. So when George Floyd was killed, for me, it was a traumatizing experience to see it repeatedly on the screen.
mhm,
I had just gone through with COVID. There must be an ambulance, and hospital close nearby. So during COVID, I would hear an ambulance. I would go to bed hearing an ambulance and wake up hearing an ambulance. And then that kind of plateaued, and then I would see a black man being killed on TV repeatedly.
mhm,
So I have been and still am a bit traumatized by that, and I'm also in grieving.
yeah,
Um, that was a really tough time because the light was shining so bright on it that I had to talk about it at work. I didn't have to, but it was brought up at work, and then it became I had to pull up because I am once again maybe one of maybe 5, 6 black people at my job.
mm,
So I had to then pull up and talk about my experiences and how this affects me. And it's been challenging to deal with, to process it all. But I made sure that I put some effort into making sure that I was a part of it. I had to lean into this. I feel like when this has happened before, I got caught up in just getting back to my day to day.
mm,
And I made a decision that I wouldn't do that this time. And I will try my best to have a voice. I will try to my best that whatever I do with my art, I am talking about it and keeping that conversation going. I do not want for the conversation to stop until there is some type of change, until real change. I don't want my children to have to deal with anything, to deal with this as much as I have or in generations past.
mhm,
So it's just really important that I did have some say and some voice in what was going on. And if I'm taking pretty pictures in the corner, those pretty pictures in the corner need to say something. They need to represent something.
mm,
So I'm just doing my best to just to be a part of change. We as a black person, as a black person who is a part of the LGBTQAI community,
mhm,
I stand at that intersection where I have no other choice but to be an activist. I have no other choice but to speak up about what's going on because I'm a glaring example,
yeah,
and I am that person. This is my community and I represent that. So I have no other choice but to just be an activist and do my due diligence.
yeah. And that comes too with just so much strength on the inside and
Hmm.
accepting of who you are. Like we were saying kind of turning away when it gets uncomfortable, but
Yes.
you leaned in so hard to who you are and your desires and, sexuality preferences,
Mm-hmm.
everything, even if skin color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like if it's not the quote unquote norm that we
Mm-hmm.
taught, it's kind of like whatever, who cares? But I
Right.
just are such a
Sorry.
strong example of just leaning into that and being comfortable. I'm going to say being comfortable in your own skin, but like I mean that multidimensional.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. There have been moments where I haven't been brave. And I
Hmm.
just had to have put on that brave, faking that confidence. Another thing my mom taught me, fake it till you make it.
Hmm.
So those moments that you are seeing or everyone's seeing me stand in that light, it's still very uncomfortable. It's not, regardless of how, like, there are times where I'm like, I just need to be this big star or this big thing. And regardless of what scale you're doing it on, you're still doing it. You're still putting yourself out there. I don't have to do any of this. And sometimes I don't even know why I'm doing it.
Hmm.
But you have to be comfortable in your own skin because it helps other people. Anything that I do now is not about me. It's about generations to come. It's about the Jareds at working in corporate America after me. It's about children if I decide to have them. It's about making sure that they see an example that they can go to can aim for. I didn't have a lot of male influences growing up. I did have my grandfather who was a shining example, and he taught me a lot of different ideals. So there's a lot that I want to show other people so that what I didn't have or didn't have a lot of, they have that. And I think that's just really important. And that's what's important to me now.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any mentors in the LGBTQAI community, or has that been kind of like a solo exploration for the most part?
That's been a solo exploration. It's been a little bit of both. I think when you are coming into your own in that particular way, it is a bit of a journey. It's a bit of an exploration. And once again, the black gay experience is totally different than the white gay experience. A lot of that systemic racism trickles over to us as well. A lot of those ideals trickle over to us as well. There's a lot of heteronormative ideals that gay men have placed on their relationship that doesn't seem to work. We fought for separation to be, we fought for separation to we fought to be different, and we still apply some of those traditional rules, and I do that too on our. So it's been hard, and we also had the AIDS pandemic. We had the AIDS
Epidemic.
epidemic in the early '90s, and that kind of a lot of the older gay men, they passed away.
Mhm.
So there have been a lot of generations of gay men who have to figure it out on their own some ways. And I didn't have a lot of friends or don't have I have my close circle, but when it comes to having that group of friends where I don't really have that. So, and I go at things alone. I'm a only child, or grew up as an only child. So a lot of things I went at it alone. So it was I took it as a journey, as an exploration, and that was tough, and it still is tough. I think we live in a world where you have been deemed less than, you are a marginalized group. So and then you add on later that I'm also a black man. It's a tough journey to bear, and then that was the start of a lot of self identity issues for me, and just having I thought that I was going to be this, regardless of what someone may have thought of me. I knew who I was. And I dated women, and I enjoyed dating women. Should I still enjoy dating women, if someone's interested.
Uh-huh.
So I had where I was going. I was okay with that. So, but when I started to really grow and understand, like, wait, there's so many other sides of me. I can be multifaceted, and there's nothing wrong with that. And when I started to lean into that more, there was a whole other world. It was like I was seeing, you have a door and there's a screen door there. It's like that screen door was finally open, and I finally saw the world in technicolor. Is that the word? I just really saw it in this really bright
Oh my
and
gosh, I just got such a beautiful like, visual of this beautiful world just being opened up
Yeah.
outside of this door for you. I love it.
Yeah, it was just such a beautiful moment. And although it has been challenging, although it is difficult, although I still have my insecurities, there's nothing about being your true self and living that through and through, and I had a thought where, yeah, that's it. We just living your true self and just being yourself, regardless of what that looks like, whether you're straight, gay, whatever, just in that vessel of who you are, you owe it to yourself just to be as multifaceted as possible.
Yeah. I have like full body chills. I love it. With your own self-growth, your journey, your work that you do, just stepping into the role of being an activist and everything like that. You mentioned to me before we started recording about your t-shirt company and everything you have going on. I would love to learn more about that. And is that kind of like the first, I don't want to call it the first steps, one of the more recent steps in this work and activism and everything that you're doing, or is there kind of multi sides to that as well?
There are multi sides to it. So you know about this. So TimK
Mhm.
is my creative side of my world. When I was assisting and working at Meredith with you, I started doing those outfit photos, and you've actually taken a few of my outfit photos when we were down in Charleston,
Mhm.
and that was the start of my styling career. My business partner at the time, Shannon Reynolds, she gave me the idea of starting a blog. Because she said if anybody can make themselves into a brand, Jared, it's you. And I really took that and ran with it. I met Shannon back in college, and I always said that she was able to spark the flame that lights the bomb in me. So when she had asked me that day, what was I doing creative? And I said nothing. She said, well, you're into fashion, start there. And I was like, well, I don't know where to start. She said, just start anywhere. And that's when, I don't know if you remember Shaniza, but that day, yes. So that day, after I got off the phone with her, I said, Shaniza, every day at 4 o'clock, you're going to take an outfit picture of me. And I just kept it going. It was supposed to be 365 pictures that year, but I wanted it to last. I wanted the pictures to show my evolution over time. And at that point, I changed the name of my Instagram account to Who is TimK, and I wanted the pictures to represent the growth, so you can see who TimK is as he ages, as he matures, as he grows up. TimK is my alter ego, everyone. That's if you didn't get the, so then fast forward to 5 years to this point, it was 5 years ago that I started that project. I have since became a stylist. I do graphic design. I still do my outfit photos. I do consulting work for styling, all these different things that I didn't even think that I was capable of doing. Now I'm doing it and living it and walking in it. One of my best friends, Chantel, she has her photography company. I've worked on plenty of shoots with her. She's gotten me working with her. I've landed, I want to say, 2 editorial covers. Now I'm credited in Vogue. I'm Italian Vogue, working as an assistant to Jared DePriest, who's such a dope stylist. So I've witnessed so much. So when it came back to when COVID happened, I had lost that kind of creative energy. I had lost my dreaming abilities. I didn't know about taking the pictures. And then Shannon reached out to me about doing a t-shirt collection, and everything started to click again. And I started to really get back in that bag of being creative. And then when George Floyd was murdered, when Breonna Taylor was murdered, so many countless other Black men and women, when there were when the murders of Black trans men and women, that continues to go on, and that has that spotlight was shining super bright. I knew that I could not come back out again taking outfit pictures without having some type of messaging behind it. I knew that I could not sell merchandise without making sure that some portion of that merchandise is going back to Black and brown organizations who need it. I made sure that I want to make sure that anything I do moving forward helps my community and communities. So that this is the beginning of the activism. This is not the big. This isn't the beginning of the fashion and style, because I've been doing that. But this is the beginning of me actually having a voice in this matter, and being a part of it in the best way that I can see fit at this time. That's what this starts, and then it kicks off a lot of other things futuristically. Like I said, like we spoke before this. It's about coming back. It's about the comeback or the setback for the comeback. So having that COVID setback, having the mourning, the death, even more so of Black and brown and trans people who have been killed, and taking that energy and taking those inspirations and applying it to something that can at some point move the needle forward. Yeah, so the Not Your Enemy collection is the name of my t-shirt, current t-shirt collection, Not Your Enemy collection volume 1. And I'm wearing a Not Your Enemy shirt now, which is our go-to piece. It's our what's the word for it? Staple, our star, our baby, my first design. And it started as Black men are not your enemy, but I wanted to make sure that people know that Black men are not your enemy, Black women are not your enemy, women in general are not your enemy, gay people are not your enemy, trans people are not your enemy, and you yourself are not your enemy. Sometimes we make ourselves out to be our biggest critics, our biggest enemy. So when you wear this shirt and you look at yourself in the mirror, I am not my own enemy. And that I want to make sure that messaging lives on. Everything that I do is about keeping the conversation going. And I want to make sure that we're keeping the conversation going about racial upheavals, racial injustices, police brutality, and also mental health awareness, and like keeping this conversation going, keeping these dialogues going further, even after we figured out something we may or may not, keeping that conversation going, because that's what's fucking important.
So important. I love the not your enemy phrase.
Yeah.
How did you come up with, did it just come to you guys? Was it like?
It came up from, one of my friends posted Black men are not your enemy. It was just a quote on Instagram that they posted. And I took it. And I was like, this is I like this. Something about this makes sense. And like I said, I didn't want it to be just Black men are not your enemy. I wanted to say that, I am not your enemy. If I'm wearing this shirt out in the street, I am not your enemy. There's no reason why I should be murdered. There's no reason why I should be marginalized. There's no reason why I should be deemed inferior in the workplace. There's no reason why. We all have our own lane. Everything, there's so much out here. Like we mentioned earlier, we are energy. We all have what is meant for me is meant for me. What's happening in your lane, what's happening in my lane or your lane or this person's lane, it might look nice, it might look cute, but it's not for me. So there's no reason why you should be intimidated by me. There's no reason why you should feel like I'm a threat to you. I am not your enemy. Focus on your shit. And you focus on your shit over there while I focus on mine. And then we can work together, but we can't work against each other, because that's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah. And there's so much space out there. I think we all have somehow developed culturally this like weird like competition mindset where it's like every man for himself and that's it. And like, I don't care if you just tripped and fell, I'm not going to pick you up because like I need to keep running in fear that you might come back and beat me. And it's like, who cares? Like there's so much space out there for people to do so much. And yeah, we're not enemies.
Right. And at the end of the day, sorry, I cut you off. But America has been built on raping and pillaging. So I feel like that has been embedded in our psyche of seeing people as your enemy when absolutely they're fucking not. So this is just one of those statements just to make sure people understand, like, no, you don't need to look over here. And if you do need to look, I think people need to look inside themselves, work out that issue with their own enemy, and start to love that person. Get away from your critical side, get over to your compassionate side, and love upon yourself a little bit more. And I think that we would be a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, so much better. And what's almost like comical in a way, if you will, is we are literally just energy, and our souls, like time isn't necessarily linear, so to say, and our souls have been all over the place and have had so many different human body experiences already. I probably have had different skin color before. I know I've definitely been a male before in past lives. Like we've all embodied all these different human bodies that we've deemed to be not fit for one another and one another. And then like sexually as well. Like you're literally just looking at a visual body, but it's whatever that preference is. And if you want to date women, date men, etc. It's just kind of like, do what speaks to you. Or if something speaks to you one night and you tried it and cool, you never want to do that again, whatever it is, it's like we just have to stop trying to fit ourselves into these glasses, which I think comes from that self-doubt, that lack of self-esteem, that deep fear of, like you said, not loving ourselves first.
And just allowing yourself to, I think we get to a place where post loving yourself, you have to start allowing. You have to start. I know I have a huge issue with control. Like I want to control every little nook and cranny. But the great thing about like this new project that I've been working on, I've been able to relinquish control a little bit and allow people to, you have an opinion about what I'm doing, instead of just working in a silo. Which has been really cool. So when you start to relinquish that control and start to allow a little bit, the things really start to change and you start to just be easy with it. And at the end of the day, no one really, you might think people care, but no one really gives a fuck what you're doing. No one gives a flying fuck.
It's so true. Literally, no. We think everyone cares, but in reality, nobody cares whatsoever. You find that once you started releasing that control and like letting people in, things kind of suddenly like opened up faster or just differently, or it just kind of exploded. Because I've seen that. Like once I let people in, it was like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think having different opinions help. Yeah, 11/11.
Yeah, of course.
Having different opinions are helping me. Learning to receive feedback, and a lot of that stuff is once again off the strength of working in corporate America and having to sit down and have those appraisals and having someone tell you about yourself and you're like, oh, I've been fucking up this whole time, had no idea. So now it's just great to partner with people and just share feedback and just share energy and just like I said, just relinquish control because like I don't have to do everything. It's great to have a partner who I can work with where she'll do this. Have someone. I'm a stylist and I'm working with a stylist on my outfit photo. So it's great to have someone to say, hey, I don't feel like doing it right now. Can you do this for me? And this is the vision that I'm going for. Help out. And just having people who believe in your vision is really important. Having people who believe in your vision and want to support you because not everybody who you say is a friend is your friend. So I feel as though at least I have people who see where I'm going. When you're working in a silo so much and you're talking about your business, you sound crazy. You sound like an absolute nut. To me, I was like, oh, I have this TimK person and he does this. But at some point you're like, you sound mental, Jared. But then you have talked about it so much over the past 5 years that people actually see where you're going. They see the growth in the movement. They're like, oh, you're serious about this. And then you're like, yeah, I've been serious. Yeah, I have been serious about this. The whole time. So it's great that people are seeing it, they're receiving it, and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And things don't happen overnight too.
No.
Which not at all. It evolves. And I love I'm not going to call it the pivot, just where things have opened up for you recently. I just see so much success with that. And was it hard for you? Like, did you run into that where when you were starting out, people didn't like, you had this vision that you could see and you were like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I see this, I'm moving, and people maybe didn't take you seriously at first. Did you run into any of that with relationships and things?
No, because I focused on just what I was doing. Like I focused on the outfit photos. So you didn't have to take me seriously because I was doing this. This is my project. This is what I was doing. You didn't have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Just know that you'll see Jared dressed up in a new outfit every day on your Instagram feed and you can either like it or love it, but you're going to see it. And I am going to make an impression. Like that's how I approached it. And thanks to, and my friends, once again, you got to have a strong support system. My friends always believed in me and they always pushed me, and when shout out to Danielle, one of my other best friends, she always, Jared, I see it in you. Keep going. I like what I'm seeing. And then when Chantel started doing her photography and she bringing me along, is because of her. I had my first paid gig as a stylist. That was a big feat for me. That was like I remember that year was one of my goals that year was to get paid to do a shoot. And she was able to get me a commissioned shoot working alongside one of my best friends. So I've always had people who took me seriously because they were my friends. And I network across. I don't see any problem networking with that's what I was talking about. We all in our same lanes. We just need to network across, because sometimes when you network up, that's when you bump into people who see what you're doing, and they wish that they can be doing it. They wish that they had done it that way. They want to tell you what you can do and what you should be doing, when things that's worked for you. That's how that worked for you. That may not work for me. So I just prefer to just, like, I'm gonna stay over here and just focus. This is my lane. This is what TimK does. This is what Jared is doing. And also to why I think that people have been taking me seriously. What I've realized, and this is what my granddad taught me. Told me. He told me before he passed away, he was like, "You are a businessman. That's who you are." So when I started to realize that I am a businessman who has a love for fashion and style, and stop trying to be the other way around, or just stop trying to be this fashion guy. That's not me. That's not my lane. I'm a businessman who has appreciation for that. So I started to move in that way. I started to be just as professional as I was at those corporate jobs. When I do my work, I make sure that my whatever material or marketing material I put out there, it looks just as professional as I can make it, to the abilities of my perfection, or I don't want to say perfection because I don't want to be perfection, but to the ability that I can do it. That's what I do. So if I just always focus on that, to do the best that I can do, you have no other choice but to take me seriously.
So true. And then you're also just rippling that energy as you embody that full force. Right. And it is like such a, it's just so interesting looking at the way everything in life just like literally squishes and pieces together when you are honoring yourself and saying yes to those curiosities and not being fearful or holding back. It's like it all just meshes together. Right. I mean, even you and Chantel, like one of your close friends, you would have probably never expected, that she would be getting you a paid gig one day, but just the way that relationship has evolved.
But I spoke it the minute that anything that I'm doing, I have already spoke into existence. It may not be the scale at which I would like it, but it definitely has some resemblance to what I had asked for. I asked to be working from home. I didn't want to be working from home under these circumstances, but hey, I'm working from home.
Same. I had asked for, I was like, I literally last fall, November, December-ish, I was telling so many people, I was like, all I want is a month where I can just, all my friends, hey, I'm alive. Just don't ask me to do anything. I don't want to have to say no to plans. All my clients, somebody else take them. I just need a month alone of like pure creativity, reset. And then a couple different events happened pre-COVID. And then that were kind of set me up for that. And then suddenly COVID happened. And I was like, okay, well, I did ask for this.
Yes. Yes. And that's where we also have to COVID is such 130,000 and plus people passed away. So, yes, we can sit here and say, hey, but, I have to make sure that people passed away from this, yes, I'm still able to work from home, but there are people who've lost their jobs, so I'm incredibly blessed to still be able to do the thing that I have been doing and move, blessed, grateful, all those things. Because I know that there's so many people who aren't in that same position to keep going.
So much suffering has happened. Yes. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I do always try to make note of that, because it has been a time of pure tragedy. Right. While there has been so much radical growth of those who have not been, maybe physically, I don't know what I'm trying to say. We've all been affected differently, but there have been pure tragedy that has happened.
Pure tragedy, and this is an indicator of where to go. This I like to call it, we're about to step into the Jetson age. Like, I feel like this is the next. We are about to be out there, and things are going to look differently. And I'm just grateful that myself, my mom, my close circle of friends and family, that I've seen that we've been able to get past that, so I'm really grateful and just blessed for that.
Yeah. So speaking of the future, there are, oh my gosh, I mean, the future is the future. There's so much unknown out there. We can get lost in thinking of the future. Yes. But as we keep stripping away these labels, these old traditions, old ideals, I don't know how familiar you are, but just looking at kind of outside of a 3D consciousness and more into like 5D consciousness.
Okay. I have not heard of 5D consciousness.
Well, kind of how you said, like the Jetsons, like anything is possible,
Mhm.
especially us. Kind of anything is possible, especially looking at ourselves as beings and embodying more love and just all the things.
Mhm.
I do think there's probably more uncovering that has to take place before
Yes.
we can fully recover, for sure. I see a lot of hope. I think people are getting lost in like, oh, everything's about to be good. Like, I don't know if that. I think there's way more that's about to go down. What do
We got a
you?
lot more to go.
Right. Yeah. What are you kind of looking at, like, future wise, whether for us as a collective or even just
Mhm.
yourself as an individual?
I do think that we have to prepare for a lot more worse things to come. I hope things don't get any worse, but I think that we got to prepare for that.
Mhm.
I think this has shown us that at the end of the day, you got to be prepared for
Mhm.
anything that can happen. I think futuristically, I'm looking to see, with everything that has been uncovered, or not just uncovered, everything that has been in plain sight, and now that we're talking about it, I'm interested to see where we go with the change of police brutality. I'm interested to see where we go with racism ideals and systematic racism within America. I'm interested to see where those things. I'm interested to see where technology takes us.
Mhm.
I'm interested to, before doing a podcast, you needed a sound booth, uh, 5 mics. Now we can just do it on a Zoom call. So I'm interested to see where we really take technology,
Mhm.
and how we move with it. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this election. I hope everyone goes out there and vote. How
Please
important that is. I'm interested to see where all of that goes. It's a sucky time to be alive, but it's also an exciting time as well.
Mhm.
Um, for myself, to be fair, I think I've become a bit of a recluse since just being isolated in the house, quarantine. We're still in quarantine.
Mhm.
But even as things have opened up, I've lost that desire to go out there. If I'm going to go out, I want to go out where I don't have, where everything, a phrase for it, if I'm going to go outside, I want to go out and have a big old party and have a good old time. You know, I want to dance, and have a good, how we got down. We
I
just
would
always
love
do.
that. I have my own little dance parties here at home, but I just want to dance and like feel all the things.
Yeah, so I'm excited, looking forward to that, and going out there and celebrating, when it comes to what I've been doing, celebrating the Not Your Enemy collection, and celebrating all these things, celebrate you and celebrate everyone and all the things that we have created and out of nowhere, and or things that we've had in the back of our minds and plucked from it, that file cabinet. It was like, you know what, that didn't work last time. Let's try it this time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to celebrate and see where I go as a designer, where I go as a stylist, where I go with my collaborations. I really just feel like I'm at a place where the sky is the limit for me.
And it is
Yeah,
truly anything is possible.
I know, I
And
know.
I also believe too, to your point, just that while yes, we've all been through a lot, like not to get doomsday, who knows what the future will bring. I don't think, I think this is kind of just the beginning, etc. But at the same time, our souls wouldn't have reincarnated now if
Hmm.
we couldn't handle all of this.
Right.
If we weren't meant to experience this and just the beauty that we have with technology and the freedom to create and the freedom to truly really be who we are if we're willing to lean into that and also just celebrate. Life is a beautiful thing and we're so
Hmm.
grateful to be alive too,
Yeah.
because that can get stripped from you at any point in time. Even
We're not.
suddenly travel has become something that's not completely okay to do right now. And yeah.
I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to travel again. That I need to get back out to Europe. I loved London last year when I was out there for 2 months for work, and it was such a that gave me so much energy.
Yeah.
Um, it really helped me understand that there was so much more out there, because I was having those moments of just, well, all I know is New York, and I'm just going to be stuck here forever, and this is it. But then when I got out there and took all of Jared out there and just was unapologetically Jared,
Mhm.
and just did whatever and didn't care and just was free. And it was definitely an experience in itself. And once again, it wasn't all great. Everything is not always going to be great,
Yeah.
but the essence of it was fun and exploring and being inspired. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that you need moments of inspiration, and I got so much of that out there. So I just can't wait to travel again to be inspired.
Yeah, traveling is so important. It just rocks your world in the best way possible. It shakes you
Hmm.
and so much inspiration. I could even see you like living in London. When you said that, I just got this like vision. I was like, oh, I could see that for your future.
It was super cool. Well, I was pretty much living there. I treated like I was living there.
King Jared.
Right.
So, for anyone who is listening, where can people find you? Where can they get your t-shirts if that's possible? Where can they connect with you?
Yes, yes. So my Instagram is who is TimK. That's where you can go and see everything about the t-shirts. There's also my portfolio, which is styledbytimk.com. That's where you can see all my past styling work, all my editorials that I spoke of. And then also my partner's brand, her website is visionaryccbstore.com. And that's also where you can get a lot more information on the organizations, which is really also really important. The four organizations that we have partnered with are Until Freedom, Black Futures Lab, Andre Lord Project, and Life Camp Inc. So those are the four organizations that we are working with right now. All profits from the Volume 1 collection will individually go to those charities and organizations because they're doing a lot of the work. You know, I'm just designing t-shirts. These men and women are out there on the streets, knocking on doors and making sure that we get the justice that we deserve for those, for my Black and brown people who are, oh shit, me too, who are being marginalized in America. So they're doing the work.
Yeah, I love it. And for the future of America,
Yes,
I,
facts.
it's so important. Like I was talking to Dan, my husband, who he's white, I'm white, by chance, my soul, I decided to fall in love with a white man, whatever. But like
Mhm.
our children, they're, who they decide to partner with or explore with and everything like that. It's, again, we're all one. Your skin color, where you come from, it does not matter
Right.
because big picture, we are all one. And we have to
One.
fight to make us all one again, but like we're truly all one.
Yes. And that's it. Bottom line.
Yeah. Simple as that. Simple as it sounds. Well, before we close out the episode,
Aw,
what I like
so
to
much fun.
I know. Well, now we're gonna have a little more fun before because I like to do some on the spot lightning
Wow.
round soul questions.
Okay. Okay.
So, just some quick questions for everybody to get to know you on a little bit more of a deeper level.
Okay.
And
How much deeper are we gonna get?
it's all up to you. No,
Now you want names, places, and times.
exactly. So, when this episode releases, it'll be your birthday, October 6th. You are a Libra, and I love Libras. Do you also know your moon and rising sign or anything else about your chart?
Yes, so I just did that. I believe my moon is in Aries and my rising is in Capricorn.
Mm, cool. I love it. Love, love, love. I'm a
Do you really?
yeah, I'm a sun Aries, so
Okay.
I have that fire. You're very balanced with that. That's
Yes.
cool.
When I'm emotional, the Aries comes out.
Mhm, I could see that. Actually, I felt that you probably had some fire in there somewhere. I'm a Sagittarius moon, so
Okay.
also a fire sign on the emotional level, and then I'm a Cancer rising.
Nice. Cool. And then my Capricorn, my like get to business.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
Get
super.
it done.
That's cool. What was something that you loved to do as a child?
I love riding my bike. That was a huge thing for me as a child. I love exploring. I love rollerblading. Being outside was a huge thing. I used to have my apartment growing up. We had a backyard, and I would just stay out there for days. That watching TV, like I was all my children playing so fan of. So I watched soap operas with my grandmother, like all the traditional child things, Power Rangers and playing with the video games. But my big thing, I always loved just being outside. I always wanted to be outside, riding my bike, just getting dirty.
Yeah, it's so fun. That's part of being a kid. For sure. You have a favorite age thus far in your life?
I think 30.
Mm.
And the only reason why I say that is because of the building up to get to it. And then everything that came after that, because 30 was at 17 in 2017 into 2018. And that's where I had my biggest growth, and the biggest bump in my life. I want to say energy wise. So I would say 30, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Do you have, so we were talking all about your photos and your outfits and everything. Do you have a favorite photo of yourself?
Ooh. So the ones that I just put out recently, for my outfit photos, when I put them out, I always call them, I'm putting like an album out. So it's I feel like it's an actual musical album, but it's actually just a photo album. So I just did a cover art for it recently, and that right now is like one of my favorite photos that I took of myself. Like all of the outfit photos, I take myself with my tripod and my iPhone. I got some lights in here, and that was like the first time where I put it together. I was like, wow, this is something.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Kevin for helping me with all the styling and stuff. But when I put it together, I was like, this looks like an album cover. It feels like an album cover. I love the motion that I was giving in the picture, because for the back side of it, I love the motion of it. I love the way my body looked in it. I love the pants that I have on. So that by far is currently one of my favorites. I was trying to think if I have a second favorite off the top of my head. My second favorite, I did a couple of years ago. I did this Black Effects series with Chantel. And shout out to one of my favorite models in the whole wide world. Her name is Roxy. Rocky, and we did it at this the studio in Brooklyn, and it was just such a cool vibe, and I loved how me and Rocky looked together. So yeah, those are my two favorites.
I love it. So fun. We talked about dreams a little bit at the beginning, but what is the craziest thing you've ever dreamed about?
Wow, I can't remember dreams. It's hard. I need to start writing down my dreams. I think that a lot of times I'll be honest, there's times where I feel like I'm rapping in my dreams. So I'm always feels like I'm like spitting bars in certain dreams, and I'll wake up, I'm like, what did I say? Because that sounds like a dope
You're like, come back.
lyric. And I get a lot of my inspiration at night. I get a lot of my inspiration. I like to think sometimes those thoughts that you have in the middle of the night are kind of like your dream seeping in, because you're so open in those moments. That last dream that we had about that 11/11 was pretty cool to me. To go through that workshop for the Aquarius moon that we just recently had, and to have the instructor say, pay attention to the 11/11, to dream about it. It was so refreshing that I am receiving those cues from the universe, and I am open enough to see them when those things happen. So that was my last craziest one.
I love it. It's such a magical journey.
Yeah.
The more you open up and lean into it, it just keeps unfolding. So,
yeah.
Final question that I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
When did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
So my first time was, I would say, 2018 with my start of meditation. And then from there, I found the law of attraction and what that meant. And then when you realize that you've kind of been doing it this whole time just by being positive and thinking things into existence and speaking things into existence. And since then, it just has grown in a way where now I feel confident and comfortable enough to know that I will get those things that I want. Even in those moments where I am feeling like I am not in control, that's okay. Even when those moments where I feel as though I'm having those first step experiences, that's okay. Because all of that contrast is going to give me so much more in the future, because all I'm doing is now really asking and receiving. That's all I've been doing, is asking and receiving. And when I allow myself to just allow, I will receive all the stuff in the bubble. So I'm just slowly receiving it. And this is just, and also this is how you measure what you get, So clearly, a lot of the design stuff and the styling stuff, those are all the things that I've asked for. And when I started to allow, I started to get it. So there's other things in that bubble that I'm not allowing because I'm being a little rigid with this. So there's still more work that needs to be done. There's still more. So like I said earlier, as long as you're focusing on the work, then those things will come out that bubble.
So true. Oh, well, I love you so much.
Love you more.
I'm so glad that we did this. Thank you.
Yes, this is great. And happy birthday to me. It's my birthday.
Jared White, everyone. He is truly the best. I hope you all just enjoyed his outlook on life and his understanding and experiences and just all of his work that he is doing to really continue these very important conversations right now on the road to igniting real change in our society and for all of us as a human race. It is quite a time we are going through, but it is such an exciting time at that. And I'm just so grateful for Jared and all the others like him who are just really doing the real work and ensuring that these conversations do not stop happening. So thank you so much. Definitely connect with him on Instagram. And do not forget, if you are listening to this episode on October 6th, it is Jared's birthday. So definitely head over to Instagram and wish him a very happy birthday. He certainly deserves it. He is just such a positive and happy person. So thank you all so much for tuning in with me here today. If you did enjoy your time, please feel free to leave us a rating and review. I would be so grateful, and in exchange would love to send you a free gift. To get your free gift, all you have to do is simply rate and review the podcast, screenshot it, and email me your proof to lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. And in exchange, I will send you your free gift. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you again soon.